Hey, good morning, YouTube family. Happy Thursday and welcome to Happy Crappy Hour. It's every Thursday at what time is it? At 11 a.m. Eastern Time, USA. So, this is our weekly live stream where we get to catch up and see how everybody's doing and also talk about specific topics. We can also talk about what's going on in your life right now and our successes and our failures. Don't be afraid of that word, by the way, failures, okay? Because that's just part of life and we learn from our failures, so they're a good thing. So the happy is, what worked this week, and the crappy is what didn't. And we want to learn about both of those things because we want to continue to do the things that worked and stop doing the things that don't work well, right? So I'm going to start off with my happies and crappies this week while you guys get on. My happy this week, let me see. It was kind of a hard week because I've been sick. But my happy was that I got to spend some time with a little toddler. He's so cute. Came over and visited, so got lots of hugs and kisses and stuff like that. My crappy, sadly enough, is that I think I caught something from him. Oh, these little toddlers, right? They walk around, they touch everything, and yeah. So, but hey, you guys, good to see you guys coming on. 10 and John Bailey, good to see you. Hey, yeah. Um, so, oh, let me see who else is coming on. Oh, says 10 says, would you please answer my question? Okay, what question is that? I don't know if you, I don't see a question yet. But yeah, if you post it, I will try to scroll. Sometimes when I scroll, YouTube, I don't know, on my screen anyway, on my live screen, you guys, the chat disappears. So I have to tap on it to bring it back. And sometimes I don't get to where your question is because I don't know, it gets scrolled past or something. So I do apologize for that. If you want to get my attention again, you may have to a couple of times say, repeat your question possibly. And also, sometimes I go on to my lesson and I talk about that for 10, 20 minutes. And in the meantime, of course, there's a lot of questions happening and a lot of conversation happening. Hopefully others are answering your question, but if they don't answer your question, go ahead and repeat it. And, the more times you ask it, I guess, the more likely I'm going to catch it. Excuse me. As I said, I have been a little bit sick this week. Excuse me. But hey, Dawn, it's good to see you. But, as much as I can, I will try to catch, as much of your questions and your comments as possible. What do I have here? See Thomas, good to see you. And oh, here we go. 10 says, how do you deal with blackmail? What? Photo and private secrets fall in hands of a narc. Oh, that's a good question. I do have an answer, to that from my own experience. Yeah, you know what? I do have an answer to that from my own experience. John says, I swear I don't know what's wrong with this woman on Tuesday. She said she felt like jumping on a plane. Jumping off of a plane? Huh. Well, I don't know. Crystal says, good morning, everyone. And 10 says, my Facebook hacked and my secrets and confessions went out. Oh, I'm so sorry about that. I'm so sorry. Oh, Crystal says, I think you're worrying too much. Oh, okay, about answering questions. I'm not worried, but I do want you guys to know that I care. I care about what you're saying. I care about what's going on in your life. And I do want to address that. So, I'll do it to the best of my ability. And just know that I'm not ignoring you. Okay, that's my thing. I want you to know you're important to me and I'm not ignoring you at all. It just happens that the screen goes in and out like it's doing right now for me. Your comments are going in and out. But 10, let me get back to you real quick about that before we start our lesson. What do you do when you're being blackmailed? Photos and private secrets, and those fall into the hands of the narc. Well, part of going no contact is blocking them from everything, right? Of course. with technology today, especially if you've been using their computer. I'm not quite sure. You may want to go talk to a specialist or someone who knows, hopefully you know somebody who's in IT and can tell you what you're capable of doing. Change all of your passwords and everything, Facebook, everything. Change your passwords, make it very difficult. Write it in a book, okay? Get yourself one of those, oh, what are they called? Like telephone address books. I know probably nobody keeps those around anymore, but I think you could get them at the dollar store still. Um, and and write down your different passwords in there, and change those regularly if they're able to hack into your Facebook and stuff like that. But definitely keep changing your passwords. Now, if you've already told them, which usually we all have, right, shared our very deep personal information with the narcissist because we've been in a relationship with them, we trusted them, right? They future faked us, and we thought we were going to be with them forever, or we thought they were trustworthy because they were our best friends, right? For decades, which has been my case. So what do you do with that? They know, some stuff that you don't want to be revealed to everybody out there. This is the way I have dealt with it, which is there's really nothing you can do. Okay. You have to come to terms with it yourself. You have to come to terms with who you are, what you've done. And if they know, and if they gossip about you, which they're going to, there's really not much you can do about it. And if people want to believe the worst of you, even though they're getting it out of context, okay, that's another thing. And these people that the narcissists are talking to or showing stuff to, they don't know you. Or they know you, but they don't care about you. If they cared about you, they would come to you and let you know they don't appreciate what the narcissist is doing to you and that they're against it, or they would try to stop the narcissist from doing this, right? So if those people are not coming to you in your defense, then you don't need them in your life. You have to learn to just accept yourself for who you are. You've made mistakes. You've done things you regret, or even there are things that maybe you don't regret, but you just don't want everybody to know. Well, now you have to live with, well, okay, if they do know, it has to be just okay. It has to be fine. In today's world, it's almost like nothing out there that people don't know anymore. It's really hard to keep your personal stuff to yourself. Now, there's a difference between personal information, such as financial information, versus personal, your likes and dislikes, your biases, whatever, right? What you've done in the past, what you're currently doing, things like that, that you don't want in the public square for everybody to know. I had to come to terms with, okay, these narcissists that had been in my life, who are no longer in my life, they know some things that I had shared with them. And I have to go, well, you know what? So they know. It's no big deal. And here's the deal. Also, they don't know how much of what you said was real and not real. And in their own world, because they make up so much stuff, they'll, whether you tell them or not what you've done or what you haven't done, they would make up stuff about you anyway, right? They're going to make up stuff about you anyway. So the people who believe them, you can't control that. You cannot control what people believe or don't believe about you. But you can develop relationships and you can live a good life. And that's what's going to throw off the people who are listening to the narcissist. Because when they look over towards you, or they run into you, or they hear about you, and they see you're doing well, and they see you're moving on, and they see that you still have friends, and they see that you are still close to people around you, and that you're capable of having relationships around you, right? They're going to start questioning if what the narcissist had told them was real anyway. They're going to start questioning, like, is this narcissist making it up? Or, they won't know that the person's a narcissist possibly, but they'll wonder, is this guy making it up? Is this girl making it up? Because, they'll look over to you and think, you look like you're doing just fine. So why, so they'll kind of take what the narcissist says with a grain of salt, even if it's stuff about you. Now, as far as photos are concerned, again, there's nothing really you can do about that. Once they've gotten that, you can't get it back. You just can't. I think even if you had all the money in the world to go after them legally, it'll still be out there. You just have to come to peace with it. Like, you know what? The world is full of people. That means the world's full of people who've made mistakes. There are a lot of people who've done what I've done. There are a lot of people who felt what I felt. And I'm growing still, I'm maturing still, I'm becoming better still, I'm not stagnant. And in a way, that's a really good thing. It kind of motivates you to keep on track with your life, to keep moving forward and not getting stuck. So I don't know if that helped, but I hope it did. I I don't like to tell people that, there's nothing really they can do, but actually, I think it's a really big thing that you're doing when you're focused on making sure you continue to live your best life, right? You continue to live out your excellence. You continue to build on your excellence, right? So you are actually doing more for yourself because you're propelled by the fact that I'm not going to still be that person that I was when I was with the narcissist. I'm not going to still have those issues or continue to do those things that I regret now, right? So you are now even more motivated to turn from that kind of life and live a better life. And when people start seeing you live this better life, then they're going to question this weird, messed up life that the narcissist is telling everybody that you live. Okay. Because it's not true anymore, because it's not you anymore. You've moved on now. So, well, that was my answer, and I hope that helped. You guys chime in. Let me see what else you're saying. But if you have, you guys, the rest of you guys, if you have any other comments or experience with this, please share, because, we do learn from one another. Let me see. John says, no one on the plane to go. Oh, to jump on the plane to go somewhere. She wants to. So you're saying the narcissist in your life wants to jump on a plane and go somewhere, meaning she's hinting that she wants to jump on a plane and come over to see you. Yeah, boy, this woman is really coming after you, John. She is hoovering you like crazy, and I hope you know and you're staying clear. You have to remind yourself why you're not with her. You have to remind yourself constantly, right? And it kind of brings us to our topic today, which is, what do we do with this relationship we still have with a narcissist? And not just that, some of us, and the reason I came up with this is I know there are a lot of people, possibly most people, right, who break up with a narcissist miss them. We want them back. There were some good times. There are definitely intimate conversations, right? At minimum. There were probably physical intimacy moments, right? Of great intimacy. And you want that back. You want to have that in your life again. And especially if you're feeling lonely and at points, in your day or your week or your life, your month, that you're feeling lonely, you're going to miss the narcissist and want to have a relationship with them. There are some things that we have to keep in mind when we are still in a relationship with a narcissist, or we want to have a relationship with a narcissist. And it does depend on what kind of relationship. And I want to talk about those specifically today. I hope you guys all jump in with your experience and your suggestions and your advice. The different scenarios are if you're married or were married, right? Or were a partner, you were dating, you were living with a narcissist. So a romantic relationship, you want to consider, what do you have to think about if you continue a relationship with them? And John, this is probably mostly like what you're going through. Then another relationship is if it's a parent and child, right? You might be the child, you might be the parent, right? And the child's the narcissist. If it's a sibling, some family member, right? Could be an aunt or uncle, grandparent. Another relationship that we may have with a narcissist that we kind of have to continue continue to have with them is if you're a coworker, if it's your boss, or even if it's your employee, right? You may be the boss or manager or supervisor, but you are not capable, or you don't have the authority to fire the person. And if you uh, try to fire somebody, it's actually quite hard unless it's a very small company. But in very large companies or government agencies, it's very hard to get someone fired. And that could be good or bad, I guess. But it turns out then that you have to work with them. You have to continue a working relationship with them. So the question is, how do you keep having a relationship with a narcissist? And what, and if you don't have to have a relationship with them, but you want a relationship with them, you also have to consider some things to keep your sanity because you don't really want to go back into that crazy town cycle that you just came out of. Okay, your heart may be hurting, you might be lonely, but it's going to be so much worse going in a second, third, or fourth time. So you guys, oh yeah, Crystal is saying, oh wait, hold on, you guys. Yeah, Crystal says, almost like worrying about the smear campaign. There's honestly no point in it. Yeah, you can, even if you, and this refers back to the question that hold on, 10 had asked about being blackmailed, because the narcissist has information on you. What do you do? Actually, this also goes into very well with the topic today. Because you have to consider in each of these relationships, if you do continue any of these relationships, romantic, family, or the professional, or even neighborly, right, relationships, and you have to be in relationship with them because you're working with them, or they're in the family, so you see them every time you're around them. Keep your personal information very close to yourself, okay, to the vest, they say. So don't tell other coworkers, this is a hard thing. You cannot tell mutual friends what's going on with you because it will get back to the narcissist. So if you want to keep things private, you have to not share it. You have to even watch yourself, what you're sharing to people who are mutual friends with the narcissist, or mutual coworkers, right? Or family members that they interact with. So it's going to get back to the narcissist. And this is how I've handled my life, sadly enough. It is sad, because I want to be able to share my life with other family members and be very close to them. But I have to be careful because I know certain family members are huge gossips, and they don't do it to hurt you, but they're just, it's so destructive because they think they're being harmless, but they share stuff with everybody. And because they can't help it or something. I don't even understand it, but even if you tell them, please don't tell anybody this, they're gonna run to at least one other family member and tell them. And then that family member will tell someone else, and eventually it gets back to the narcissist. That's just what happens. And it has happened to me as well. So I've learned to never how do you, it's so horrible to say this, but never be dependent on a family member. Never need to talk to them and share my hard stuff. And that sucks. It really sucks. Now, I'm talking about family members that interact with that narcissist. There are other family members I have that don't interact with that narcissist because they're not friends. They're not in the same family line. Okay. So, say my dad's family versus my mom's family. So I can talk to my dad's family, but I can't talk to my mom's family because it'll get back to her. So you see what I'm talking about? You have to keep your personal information to yourself. So even that question about what do you do when the narcissist can blackmail you or have personal information on you, once it's out there, it's out there. There's really, not much you can do, but improve yourself, work on yourself, stay focused on getting a better life, living a better life, so that whatever they're saying about you, whether it's true or false, because they're going to make it up anyway, right? the people who are listening to it will look at you and think, well, that doesn't really quite match up to what I'm seeing. So you kind of escape or leave behind anything that you didn't want to have in your life anyway, right? Okay, you guys. So Metal Gear, good to see you. Yeah, see, Thomas says, that's why I had to stop talking to his mother. She would tell him. Exactly. So, lesson number one, if you want to still have a relationship with a narcissist, you cannot tell them anything personal ever again, right? Like you can't take back what they already know, but you can stop letting them know anymore, right? You can stop sharing, and it's I hate to keep saying it's sad, but it kind of is sad. You cannot tell them what's continually happening now, right? You can't let them into your successes and failures and what you're excited about. And it's so crazy, but you even have to protect your successes from them, that information. Because if they know you're doing well, they're going to wish you really horrible things. They're going to wish you failure. If you're doing well, they may start to weasel their way back into your life to take advantage of that, right? If they know you're doing well, they may sabotage you, okay? Because they're so jealous. So that's why you cannot even share that with them. It's so horrible, but it will keep you safe and it'll also keep your sanity. So you won't be sabotaged. You won't fall into these crazy traps later on where you're going to feel like you're going nuts again. So you guys, that's point number one about being in a relationship again with them. You have to keep your secrets or your personal information, and they may not be secrets that you feel like you have to keep from everybody else. Like you'd be happy to tell people I got a promotion, right? But you cannot tell that to a narcissist. Isn't that crazy? And now if it gets back to them, it gets back to them. But try as much as you can to keep your conversation with them limited, and also conversation with others who know them limited. And there are enough people, the good news is there are enough people in this world to have plenty of relationships and close relationships, really. You just can't have a close relationship with a narcissist. You may want one, but be aware that you just can't. Here you go. Measure twice, good to see you. And Jihad, good morning. Let me see. Metal Gear says, one must be careful what you say to any family member or friends of the narc. The less you say, the better. Unfortunately, most immature people love to gossip. Yeah, exactly. So even if they're flying monkeys or your other family members are generally good people and all that, they just don't think anything of sharing what's going on in the family, for instance, right? They're like, oh, well, the niece won't care if I share that, she's now pregnant. It's like, well, she kind of does care, and you shouldn't have shared it like that. But they may have even shared it sort of, I do try to look on the bright side of people, okay? They may have shared it because they want to help out the niece. But that's why you have to be so careful to not share with those who are in community with the narcissist, who are still in contact with them. You have to control, keep it, it's like you have to compartmentalize the narcissist in your life. Like they're able to fill this one box and that's it. That you come into contact with once in a while. Say it's a sister or a brother, right? And you want to keep in contact with them and you want to check on them once a month or something like that, see how they're doing because you love them, right? This is your sibling. You still love them. So you check on them, but you have to keep the conversation on topics that are not personal to you. You can talk about the real estate market. Okay, you can talk about that. All right. You can talk about I hate to say the weather, but people do talk about the weather a lot. So, or your favorite food, or a new recipe, or whatever it is that you could possibly talk about with the narcissist and have in common with the narcissist, stick with that topic. So, but when they ask you about you, how are you doing? How's your job? How's this and that? Just let them know very shallowly, I guess, things are going well. Things are fine. Yeah, that worked out, and if they hear from other people, oh, I heard from Aunt so and so. just go, oh yeah, well, that worked out. Just keep it very short and like, I don't really want to, bore you with that, or there's really nothing to talk about there. And change the subject. You have to keep your information and your conversation with the narcissist um, very generic. And actually, it doesn't have to be completely generic. It can be about something that's important to you, like literature, books you've been reading. Maybe there are things that they like to read. You can talk about that. Traveling, if you want to talk about places that they like to travel to. Generally, I don't have that kind, I've noticed you cannot have that kind of relationship even with a narcissist because it has to revolve about them, around them anyway, right? And then conversation gets very boring when all you talk about is them. And that's another reason why you kind of limit what you want to do. Oh my gosh, my pup. I don't know why, but he likes to be on the camera. Oh my gosh. Okay. So the second thing I was thinking is, you have to realize that they are limited emotionally. They just are. You cannot need them. Okay, if you're going to continue a relationship with the narcissist, and this particularly applies to those who are, I think, in a parent-child relationship or a sibling relationship, I suppose, or a partner-spouse relationship. If you if you should have the opportunity and they want to come back into your life, John, this is specifically I think about in your case, your ex keeps wanting to come back into your life. It's very obvious, right? You have to know you cannot need her ever again. Because if you need a narcissist, you will be their slave. You will be again under their thumb. And you don't want that. You'll be under their control. If you need the narcissist to not feel lonely, if you need the narcissist to feel special, if you need the narcissist to make you feel wanted, this is not going to be fulfilled by the narcissist. They just won't do it. They could do it for a moment. It might feel great for a day, or probably not even a whole day, right? It'll probably feel great for an hour. And then their real personality comes back out. Their real self-centeredness, their real selfishness comes back out. And it has to be about them. It has to be, and they'll come after you, start targeting you and why you're not making them feel special. So now it becomes a chore, this relationship. If you need them to need you, it will turn around to become a chore again, where you have to feed their ego continually. And you're going to be depleted because you're going to keep pouring and pouring into them while they keep taking and taking, and once in a while throwing you a bone, right? And by the way, the second time around or third time around, they throw you fewer bones. They have even less respect for you now. They know you need them, and they know you're even more desperate than them, right? Than they are. Although you're not, you can see that they're the desperate ones. They're the ones who wanted to jump on a plane and come to you, and they're constantly contacting you and sending you sad songs and whatnot, right, John? But if they're doing that, they're very desperate for you, and you let them back in. Well, now they're going to look at you like, oh, well, you're the desperate one. And they're going to have hardly any respect for you. And they think that they can do anything now because you took them back. And they'll know that you took them back because, and in their mind, because you're the desperate one. So you guys, it's just absolutely nonsense. But if you do have a relationship with them, if you do keep contact with them, it has to be, what is it? It cannot be sexual. Okay, you guys, cannot. It cannot be emotional. I know it sounds crazy. It cannot be even friendship, right? It has to be very generic. It has to be, I cared about this person. I'll say hi to you. I'll interact with you, talk about a few things, what's going on in your life. And they'll be happy about that, right? Talking about their own life. Don't share with them anything that's going on in your life, because whatever you share, it's not safe. It's not going to stay safe. It's not going to stay with them. It's going to be smeared around to whoever, and possibly back to her current guy, right, that she's with. She's going to tell them or him what's going on with you, but in a bad light. She's going to turn it to make it look like you're a horrible, desperate, whatever, messed up person. And she needs to go to you to help you. Oh my gosh, you guys. So, so crazy. Let me see what you guys are writing here. Yeah, Metal Gear says one must be careful what you say. Oh yeah, I already read that to any family member or friends of the narc. Yep, the less you say, the better. Measure Twice says you have to treat a narcissist or otherwise difficult person just like a cobra. You manage them. Yep. You avoid when possible and don't let your guard down regarding them. Exactly. Measure Twice. Exactly. That is really what we have to consider. And I know it's hard because our heart wants to have a relationship with them. Even if it's a parent or a child relationship or a sibling relationship, we want to have a relationship with them because we look around and we see other families, right? We're looking around at other families and we're like, well, they have a relationship. They miss their mom when they're not around their mom. They miss their dad who passed away. They'll talk about things like that. And you, in the meantime, are like, wow, I don't miss them. I mean, I miss not having that kind of a relationship. But here's the reality. And this is kind of point 3, actually, you guys, about having a relationship with a narcissist. Excuse me for 1 second. I gotta take a drink of my tea here. Oh my goodness. The third point is that, let me see how to. Third point that I'm trying to figure out where to start with this because it came to me this past weekend. All right, you guys. So this past weekend, I was sitting in bed and thinking about what kind of relationship I have and with my mom. And I started crying, because I wish I could have a deep relationship with her. I have friends who have great relationships with their parents, right? I have friends who call their parents and are they can depend on their parents, right? They have their parents there cheering them on, their successes. They have their parents there, wishing them well through their failures. Um, and I I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could do that? Should I do that? Can I reach out to somebody in my family and do that with them? And the answer was no. I couldn't. I had to come to this realization that my relationship with my mom has to be limited. It is, and it is. It's not by my choice, but it is. And it is, though, my choice whether I let her in to destroy me or whether I have contact with her at all, right? Those things are my choices. So I do choose to let her into my life at all, right? I do that because I care. I still love her. I still care about her. I'm watching her as she gets older, so I'm watching the aging narcissist, right? And she has absolutely mellowed out. But the bottom line is she still cannot handle intimate relationships. She still cannot handle my sharing with her my heart, my deep feelings, what's going on with me when I'm feeling sad about something. And by the way, you know that too. When you share anything with a narcissist, they don't really help anyway, right? And you tell them that you're sad, they're like, well, just cheer up. Like, okay. Because they're not capable of having a deeper relationship. They cannot empathize. They can't understand sympathy. Like they can act it out. They can pat you on the shoulder and be like, oh, they're there. But they cannot give you, for one, good advice. And for two, they cannot sympathize with you. They just can't. They're not going to act like, oh yeah, I've been there. I know how that feels. Even though they have been there. Because they just can't relate to you. They don't allow themselves to connect on that deeper level with people. So that's point number 3. It's just going to be limited. whatever relationship you have with your narcissist or ex-narcissist, you know, um, it's going to be limited. And you have to keep it that way. You have to keep vigilant, stay vigilant about what you tell them. You may want to have a deeper relationship with them, but they're incapable of it. So you have to keep that in your mind. They're incapable of it. Otherwise, you're going to go crazy. You really are. You're going to go nuts thinking, I just shared my deepest, I was feeling so horrible, or this happened, or, I broke up with so and so, or, just went through this tragedy. I lost my pet. And here's your narcissist family member or whatever, friend, unable to give you any sympathy because they have no empathy to give. They just don't. They cannot empathize with you. So they can give you, I guess, a little bit of sympathy, mimic it at least, but that's all you're going to get. And if you need more than that, you're going to make yourself crazy. You're going to be expecting them to do something that's impossible for them to do. So if you continue a relationship with a narcissist, be aware of that. Know that this is their limit, and you have to accept it. Or there's really, the sooner you accept it, the better actually, the relationship will be. And what I mean by that is you'll be satisfied with, okay, this is as far as this relationship goes, and you have to be okay with it. Like, okay, I'm okay with checking on this person once in a while. They never check on you, whatever. If they try to hoover, excuse me, if they try to hoover you back in, and say it could be a parent too that's doing that, you still have to keep your boundaries. You still have to keep your guard up, because why? Yeah, that's the sad part too. You have to ask yourself each time your narcissistic ex, narcissistic family member, narcissistic coworker wants to get into your life. Oh, I'm concerned about you, John, or I'm concerned about you, Michael, or Sarah, or whoever, right? I want to know what you're doing this weekend, or are you going to be okay this week? Whatever. Just, yes, I'm fine. You have to not need them. You have to not share with them what's really going on, and you have to not need them. And here in this world, we want to have connection, and it is absolutely normal to have connection, just not with a narcissist. You have to find healthy relationships, you guys, to connect with people and have that need fulfilled. You cannot seek it from your narcissistic ex or narcissistic friend. Doesn't matter how many years you've known your friend. I've seen so many stories and heard so many stories where in life, I've seen in life how it plays out, where somebody had been friends for all their life, and yet, oh my gosh, there's a horrible crime show I was watching yesterday where these kids, they knew each other since they were in elementary school. I don't even know. But they get to high school and they turn on each other. It's like you think that this is your friend. You've known them for a long time, and they turn on each other and in violent, horrible ways. I'm not going to go into it, but it's just, what the heck, right? That's what you have to understand about the narcissists in your life. At any moment, they can and they will turn on you if it benefits them. Yeah, it's unfathomable to us, but that is their limit of having relationship. They don't value relationship. And just because you have a decade under your belt, 2 decades under your belt, it means nothing to them. So don't give it value where it has no value. Okay? It's valuable to you. That's fine. But beware that if this is a narcissist, you cannot then automatically trust them just because you have time spent with them. Well, you guys, let me see. I am going to catch up with some of your comments here. Okay, here we go. Hold on. Okay. I'm missing. Okay. Crystal Jean, good to see you. I think I said hi already, but says, see such freedom in that, right? I was always so insecure. I guess in a way, this narc BS toughened me up. I'm really good with me now. That's great. I was always wonderful. Too bad I wasted so many years. Not. Yeah, not believing that. Oh, not believing that you were wonderful. Yeah, when we come out of these relationships, we realize, wow, I'm so much better without them. I'm actually very capable. I'm actually really intelligent. I'm actually really beautiful or handsome or I'm a good person. Um, but you feel like dirt when you're with them because they're constantly putting people down around them in order to make themselves feel better, right? So, yeah, yeah. C. Thomas says, yes, Crystal, I feel so different at times and wonder why all those years I was so worried about what people think. This sure, ugh, excuse me, this sure toughened me up too. It's peaceful too, and no additional stress. Yep. Measure Twice says, my life is so much more peaceful in the past decade thanks to this knowledge about narcissists. Isn't that true? And now when we pick out people, we don't just automatically trust everything, right? We don't automatically share our life with people. We have to, yeah. We learned a lot. Let's just say that, right? Okay. C. Thomas says, Narc wants you to keep talking to find out what's going on with you. Yep. Measure Twice says, stay positive, but very vague. Yep. So you guys are getting it, right? This is the kind of relationship you can have with a narcissist. But John Bailey, specifically for you, I know the one your ex is continually contacting you and hoovering. Um, I think you are aware. I think you've been, writing stuff down or in these comments in past videos about how you know that she's with somebody right now, right? And you're wondering why is she contacting you while she's with this other guy? Because she needs somebody else to latch on to. Now, don't be that supply for her. And I think you're familiar, you're aware of that. Metal Gear says, now, if there are kids involved, in my case, keep your interactions with the narc limited. Always focus on the kids. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I did not discuss that yet, but you're right. That's another relationship where you have to have one, right? Um, yes, and I agree with that. Keep the focus on the kids. What can you be doing for the kids? What could they be doing for the kids? Um, you know, what are the kids doing? What activities are they in? And what's going on at school? How are they doing at school? Who are their friends? Keep the conversation about the kids. So thank you for including that, Metal Gear. Crystal Jean says, so much easier to breathe now. My faith in a father who adores me, how I am at all times, is a huge part of it for me. Yes, and I would agree with you about that too. Having my faith also has helped me through a lot of it. Asking for healing, that's a big one. Um, Whether you believe in God or not, it's interesting when um, you ask for healing. You invite it into your life. It's good. Yeah. Measure Twice says, yes, boring conversations do get boring quickly. That's why avoidance and gray rock is best. Oh, I see what Crystal Jean is saying. Oh, it's my pet. Not gonna answer. uh, yeah, but I love dogs and cats too, by the way. Crystal Jean says, they really do lose interest if they're not getting emotion or information from us. Quite remarkable. Yeah, they do, right? And the conversation doesn't have to continue on and on because they're like, okay, that's it. Yeah. Measure Twice says they always also make less and less sense the more you try to reason with them. This will make you feel crazy. Yes, right? That's why the interaction or the relationship that you have with the narcissist, if they remain in your life, the relationship is limited. It just absolutely is. And once you accept that, although that might not be what you want, but once you can accept this is their limitation, they cannot go beyond this, then you'll stop feeling like things are going crazy and out of control in your life. You'll actually be in control of that relationship. You'll be like, okay, I know I can't go into deep conversations and meaningful conversations, and I can't go into even rational conversations, right? So things have to be just very topical. And they do get annoying. Oh my gosh, you guys, I understand. They do get annoying. There are other narcissists and toxic people in my life, and I kind of treat them the same way, because with toxic people you cannot share with them either, right? They're not trustworthy, they're not safe, they're going to undermine you, they're going to sabotage. They might mean well, right, sometimes, but that's fine, that's great, take it for what it is. They mean well here and there, but make sure you're in control of yourself and you have an exit plan. Like, you can leave the conversation, you can walk out of the restaurant, you can, say, um, you can give them your boundaries. Like, if you're going to talk about this, part of my life, which I don't want to talk about, then I'm going to leave. you know, you can do that. Crystal says, they are so boring. That's why they need to gossip. It makes it seem like they're interesting. Yes, it's true. Their life really, you know what? It's crazy though. Everybody's, excuse me, everybody's life is what you make it, right? But sadly enough, for a narcissist, nothing's ever enough. So their life to them seems boring, although they want to act like it's not boring. It's such a conundrum. It's so crazy. It makes no, that's their crazy town. So why am I trying to get back into that, right? Why am I trying to get into their heads to try to figure out what in the heck? But that's why you have to keep your relationship with them so limited, because you get pulled into their ridiculous crazy town, their gossip campaigns, their smear campaigns of you, of other people, even when it's not about you, it's about other people. Don't get into it. Don't get pulled into that junk, because it's crap. It really is. You don't need that in your life. Measure Twice says 8 years post-divorce. Almost all co-parenting communication is by text and very, very minimal. Oh, exactly. That's good, because ah, that's the way you can kind of keep it cordial. You can keep it from getting nasty and horrible. And that's the whole reason we want to look at what kind of relationship can we have with a narcissist, because we have to be real with ourselves, right? We have to be truthful with ourselves, what's possible, what's not possible. We want to make life, pleasant for ourselves, right? We want to have a successful life. And in doing that, you cannot invite a narcissist fully back into your life. They will destroy you, they will sabotage you, they will make you go crazy. So, in order to have a relationship with a narcissist, you have to keep it limited. Crystal says, I can't have a relationship with my sister anymore. It took years to get to this point. She's paranoid, delusional, and on the cluster B spectrum. My mom can't understand how I could abandon her. Yes, and you're gonna get that too. Guilt trips from family members, or maybe not coworkers, but possibly, but mutual friends. You're gonna get it from their flying monkeys. How can you possibly abandon this person? Yeah, you're not abandoning them. They choose, right? They choose what kind of relationship they can have with you. And if they choose the only way you can be in relationship with them is while they're being toxic, then no. You know, you have a life too, and you choose not to have toxicity in your life. Oh my gosh. And people who are like, no, you have to have toxicity in your life, they're crazy. They're crazy. I actually have a friend who's going through that right now with her sister, because their father is he's a totally aged narcissist. I think he's in 70s now. I can't remember. She said 70s or 80s. But the sister, of course, is, oh my gosh, an enabler, for one, of the narcissistic father. And, excuse me. So the sister is guilting my friend about not being helpful or coming to visit him more, or, wanting her to financially start supporting him. And she's like, what? hold the phone, he could kind of stop spending all his money on alcohol and support himself. He can actually turn his life around even at 70 and 80. Yes, they can, but they choose not to. And it's not your obligation then to enable their self-destruction. And that's what the sister is doing. She's enabling this guy's self-destruction. And that's the horrible thing I've really noticed about some of the aging narcissists that are in my vision, if you will. I don't really interact with them, but I know what's going on with them. I hear about what's going on with them. That, they self-destruct, and they will drag anybody down with them who is willing to go with them. And a lot of times it's family members, right? Because they're like, oh, we can't abandon them. Like, yeah, but all you're doing is enabling them. You're enabling them to continue to be nasty and disgusting and bitter and, gossipy. You're allowing all of that. Why? And why is it that the family member thinks they're doing this narcissist such a favor by keeping them in that state? Like, why? The more you pull away, by the way, the narcissist does turn around. That's what I've noticed in the aging narcissists, right? They do start to mellow out. They do start to behave a little better. But the more you give them, the more toxic they become. The more controlling they remain, even in their old age. The more abusive they continue to be verbally. Even if they can't do it physically anymore, they will continue to be verbally abusive. The more you allow them to do this to you, the more you allow them by sticking around and taking it. They learn to stop being bitter and nasty if you walk out. They're like, oh, every time you keep walking, yeah, I walk out because you get nasty and bitter. And the sibling that stays, and the sibling that's guilting my friend to stay for that, oh, I just think it's total crap. you know oh, so you want him to go to his grave a total jerk, bitter, verbally abusive, drunken nut. How is that better? How is that better than holding him responsible for the words he says to them when they're around him? If they would hold him responsible by having healthy boundaries, by leaving when he starts to become toxic, he'll start to curb that behavior. He'll start to curb his verbal abuse. And I've seen it happen. I know it happens. It happens in my life with the narcissists that are still in my life, because when they start to be abusive, they know now. They know they just cannot even give a hint of abuse with me, because I leave. I'm not mean about it. I just go, okay, well, I just walk out, or I do my own thing, or I don't contact them for a long, long time. Then they are like, well, okay. They start to get it. Narcissists are not complete idiots, right? They have a brain. They can figure some things out. It's almost like a child, right? The more you spoil a child, the less boundaries they're going to be able to have for themselves. But when you give a child healthy boundaries, they learn, like, oh, okay, I should treat this person with respect, because if I don't treat them with respect, then I don't get what I want anyway. So yeah, we won't go into child rearing. But Crystal says, yep, exactly, escape. Acceptance is a huge part in being able to move on. Yes. C. Thomas says, my sister, same. I will avoid contact. Let me see, calls, and I limit the conversations before it becomes too toxic. Yep. And Measure Twice says, my parents and only sibling all have deep issues, and it's a shame, but I have peace with the situation, and that is the best outcome for me. Yes. Crystal says, Measure Twice, my mom guilts me about it. She's not well, Crystal. We don't abandon family. No, you're not abandoning. Not abandoning at all. Actually, you're trying not to enable it. Enabling it is the worst thing you can do for somebody. I mean, you're still there. If she were in the hospital and was on life support or what, you'd be there for her, you'd be praying for her, you'd be wishing her well, you know. But if she's toxic, then you have to show, no, I don't accept this. Yeah, the enablers are crazy. They really are, and they just make it worse for everybody. Measure Twice says, sounds like a familiar manipulation tactic from your mother. My mother utilizes guilt and manipulation, lying and gaslighting. Wow. Oh, excuse me. I had a sneeze come on. Metal Gear says, a narc has nothing to give in return, only pain, drama, and insanity. That's how they update the trauma bonding. Oh my gosh, you're right about that. They want to stay bonded to you, right? And they want you to stay bonded to them. So don't fall for that. Don't you have to go in with a very clear mind, with very clear expectations and clear acceptances, right? You have to be aware of what the possibilities are for this narcissist, what their limitations are in their ability to connect deeply. They just can't. Yeah, and you have to have boundaries, right? You have to have an exit plan, is what I always call it, where you don't continue to enable their bad, toxic, horrible behavior. You limit it. You tell them enough is enough. You don't go into it with them. Yeah, it's just crazy. Crystal says, my mom doesn't mind being her doormat. We all have walked on eggshells for years with her. Going through narc abuse has made me unable to deal with people's BS any longer. Oh my gosh, yes. I agree with you about that too. Oh, Charlotte, hi there. Charlotte says, hope everyone is well today. Yeah, I'm a little under the weather, but thank you, Charlotte. I appreciate that. Charlotte says, my parents say every week how everyone at their workplaces hate them, then just laugh at how they did nasty stuff to make them so angry. Every week. Wow, Charlotte, that's incredible. I cannot imagine what it was like growing up with them then, you know, how they treated you guys. Crystal says, Metal Gear, exact amundo. It's never ever a balanced or reciprocal relationship. Charlotte says, they actually seem proud of how many people dislike them, as if it's an achievement, but I can tell the disproportionate laugh is to cover the shame. Exactly, because narcissists are never happy. They have a path or swath of destruction behind them always. And they can't control the destruction, and instead of repairing it, instead of becoming responsible, they just get worse, right? They take no responsibility and they laugh at it, and they, you know, blame the other people for it, or they make a game of it here as you're explaining. It's just incredible, right? They laugh at other people's pain because they don't get empathy. They only are sympathetic to themselves, right? And probably between the two of them, they're not even sympathetic with each other. So they probably do this to each other as well, which is sad. And the only way they connect is when they're doing it to other people. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but people become closer when they have a common enemy. So if the common enemy are the coworkers, then that's why your parents are doing that. So that they at least can, and it's horrible that their bond together, the one thing that they have in common that pulls them closer, or not the one thing, but a big thing in their life, is to have this common enemy. So they have to make this enemy stronger and bigger, and, you know, a large part of their focus in order to keep their marriage together. It's horrible. It's a horrible place to build a marriage. Terrible. Crystal says, Charlotte, that's awful. Yeah, it is. C. Thomas, yes, Metal Gear, they give nothing in return. Measure Twice says, that is frightening, Charlotte, but I believe it. Wow. Oh, this is horrible, Charlotte. She says, my mother used flea treatment for a large dog on a cat, and it killed it slowly. And she laughs at how she didn't read the instructions. Turns out we all used to love the cat, and I think that's why she did it. the third cat that she's done that to. Holy mackerel. Ah, this is how sadistic they are and how detached they are. And Charlotte, oh my gosh, I hope that you are out of that house. I hope that you are away from that. And that's definitely a relationship you want to keep. If you possibly could, no contact. And if you have to have contact, extreme limited contact. And there's so much that we learn on our own, right? This is how it took me a couple of decades, but to figure out like how to handle the narcissists in my life, what worked, what didn't work. You learn a lot about what you're in control of and what you're not in control of. So Charlotte, in this case, I really hope that you're taking control of your own life and your own safety and your own mental safety as well, right? And keeping it extremely limited with your parents. I don't, it's just horrible. Like animal control. I don't know that there's anything you can do about that either, you know, what she's been doing. Yeah. So let me see. Crystal says, Charlotte, my other non-disordered sister had a woman at work who saw her as a target and created every kind of hell for her just because. Yeah. Yeah, narcissists are bullies too, by the way. They're horrible bullies. And you know, it comes from this ridiculous insecurity inside of them. It's just horrible. Holographic, good to see you. Sorry, you guys, I'm kind of a few, I guess 10, 13 minutes behind here in comments. Our hour, sadly, is up, but I'm going to stay on for a little bit longer and let you guys finish up some conversations. And I'm going to read some more of your comments. Crystal says, Charlotte, I'm sorry you're living with such evil. You're probably young, but get away from it as soon as you can. Life gets better. Yes, Crystal Jane, I agree with that. RB, good to see you. Says, can narcissists see or sense when they are in a rage? Holy moly. I guess they sense it, right? Let me think. but they know it's a rage, but they see it as warranted. They see it as necessary, right, to control the situation in order to get what they want. So they think that their rage, what's the word, is warranted, but also is acceptable because they needed to rage because of whatever you did or whatever was happening around them. They call it traffic rage, road rage, right? They if that guy didn't cut me off, you know, then I wouldn't be like this. They can't take responsibility for their rage. Oh, that's the horrible part. And then of course they're ashamed of it later on, but in order to combat that shame, they put blame on other people or other things, and they validate their own rage. It's horrible. Holographic says narcs cannot relate because one, they have had maladaptive insanity. If it's not about them, they make it about them. Yep. Two, enmeshment is a very toxic illusion. They regard you as their slave to use and abuse. Run. I'm sorry that I laugh at this. It's not that I think it's hilarious. I just think it's incredible. It's just mind-boggling to me. You know, I mean, I know all of this, but it's still mind-boggling to me that people treat other people this way. That people, narcissists and toxic people, would think this way, right? That they would enslave people. What the heck? You know, it's kind of out of shock and incredulity that I kind of, anyway, that I laugh at some of this because I'm just amazed, like how it makes no sense that people are like this, right? It makes no sense that they would continue to be like this because it really just doesn't even serve them. You know, it doesn't serve them. So why are they doing this? Yeah, because, you know, here's another terrible, sad part, because this is what they're capable of. That's it. You know, they're not capable of a good life. And that's why I keep saying that, you know, when you are imagining that the narcissist is living a great, beautiful, wonderful life, yeah, you know, the reality is, and all the evidence that you have seen up to this point shows you they're incapable of living a good life, right? Let me see. Charlotte says, I got away a few months ago. Only when they come over do the story start about how my neighbors looked at them and then tried to guess why they hate them. Wow. Wow, Charlotte. Why would people you've never met hate you? They are truly paranoid. Wow. And yes, narcissists are. And they make up a story. Ah, the story that they make up about people all around them. And then they start treating people according to their story, their own narrative, which is their crazy town. That's why um, being in a relationship with a narcissist, you go absolutely nuts because there is no consistency to their craziness. It goes up and down and all around, and there's never a consistency to it. And it's absolute mental. I don't know how to put it, but it's just a mental nightmare. So measure twice. Says all the narcissists I know have no logic when enraged, and rage was a big form of control for my ex-husband. Yes, exactly. And there is no logic to their rage. They try to rationalize their rage. They try to blame others for their rage and why it was necessary. But the bottom line is it's their limited emotional maturity that reverts to rage in order to control their surroundings, right? And control the people around them. Yeah. RB says, how long does it take narcs to come down when they go through narcissistic rage? Do they just turn on everyone? And when the storm has gone, do they feel guilty for how they self-destruct? No, they don't feel guilty. If they do, they feel it momentarily. Like they feel a flash of shame or a flash of guilt, but that's too much injury to their ego. So then they start rationalizing why their rage was not so bad and why the other person deserved their rage. And then they act as if everybody should be okay with them now. You know, they might even say, I'm sorry. Although, you know, they're not really, but just the fact that they say those words, they expect everybody to then just fall in line and forgive them if you're a good person, because if you're not a good person, then you don't forgive, right? Or if you don't forgive, that means you're the one who's not a good person. It's just insanity, you guys. But no, they don't feel bad or guilty for very long at all. And then not only that, say a week later or a day later or a month later, they don't even remember it. It's like nothing happened to them. You know, while you're there and you're traumatized and you have, you know, what is that? The traumatic stress syndrome, you know, you you're traumatized by it. Now you have triggers because of their crazy rage, but they don't even remember that they raged that much at you at all, right? It's absolute crazy town. Um, Crystal says, Charlotte, so awesome you're out. Good for you. Just gotta limit the visits now. Yes. Charlotte says, RB, they will sometimes say they feel bad, but usually saying I feel bad for what I did is an omission of guilt. So they seem to just pretend to be the victim of their own behavior. Yeah. Charlotte, that's very insightful of you, by the way. That's absolutely true. They somehow then turn it to, and that is part of when they're rationalizing their rage because they're the victim. They had to do this because others did that, right? They were the victim. They had to stand up. They had to get mad. They had to, whatever, you know, throw this crazy nutcase rage tantrum. And then they blame, right? They blame other people so that the bottom line is they're the victim. Crystal says, I think I'm the only person who has witnessed just how crazy my ex can get. He puts on a perfect performance for everyone else. Well, he says he had a mental break because the kids refused to talk to him. Wow. A mental break. What do you mean? Like so he had a mental breakdown because the kids wouldn't talk to him. You're not the only one, by the way. I know it feels like you are. I think the other people who have seen this side of him um, are still coming to terms with it. They're still trying to figure it out. They're still making up excuses for it, right? And that's what people do until they understand what narcissistic personality disorder is. They try to rationalize, they try to make sense of why a person would behave so irrationally or with so much rage or with, so much toxicity. They'll excuse it in a way, right? They'll make excuses for it. Well, they must have had a hard childhood, or they must have had this and that, or something must have happened to them this week or last month. Oh, they just lost their job. Oh, they're in a uh, financial bind right now. That's why they're so toxic and mean and awful. you know, um, they're trying to make sense of it. They want to still believe that the narcissist is a good person and can change and can grow and be mature. They want to believe the best of a person, right? Yeah. So, while people are figuring that out about the narcissist, you're a narcissistic ex, um, you're left feeling like I'm the only one who sees this. You're actually not. You're not the only one who sees this, because the narcissist cannot hide this from everyone. It's just that everybody else handles it differently than you do because they don't know yet, or they haven't figured it out yet, that this person's a totally toxic, in what is it? Just a person who's completely incapable of being a real person, of being a real heartfelt, loving, empathetic, kind, compassionate person. They don't see that. They can't understand that a person doesn't have empathy. Yeah. Metal Gear says, narcissists get worse with age. Don't feel guilty to walk away because they can hurt anyone, regardless of who, with no remorse. Yeah. Crystal Jean says, all for pity supply. His family feels sorry for him. They prop him up constantly. It's pathetic. Yes, right? And it's the same thing, like you were saying about your sister. Those who are around them make excuses for them and they feel sorry for them. And they, meanwhile, all they're doing is enabling the terrible behavior instead of they think it's bad to have boundaries. That is in my boundary series, or I don't know, I've talked about boundaries so many times. If I can come up with or find a video where I talk mostly about it, I'll put it here. But generally, people feel or will guilt you if you set boundaries. So we end up thinking, oh, having personal boundaries is a negative thing. It's a bad thing. It's a selfish thing. It's mean to have a boundary, right? Some parents feel it's mean to not give their kids everything their kids are demanding. It's not mean. It's actually kinder to set limitations. It's kinder to set boundaries. It's kinder to teach your kids not to be narcissistic, right? It's kinder to teach people how to treat others. It's so much kinder because then they learn how to have a real relationship, a give and take, a sympathetic one, an empathetic relationship. But narcissists have been so enabled all of their life or part of their life or right now that they don't see the need then to change. And I think that's more cruel than setting a healthy boundary. Yeah. RB, and actually it's not cruel at all when you set a boundary. RB says, when you leave and they beg not to behave that way again, do they usually go back to the same behavior? For example, cheating, etc. Do you give them another chance? RB, that's entirely up to you. The cheating, if it's been a one-time thing, and I know people have said once a cheater, always a cheater. I don't agree with that. I've seen people who've cheated and they have learned because there was a part of them that was broken, and that's why they cheated. They work on that part, and now they're incredibly happy in their marriage. Their marriage survived, and things are good, right? They've gotten older, they have grandkids now, and they would have missed out on all of that if their spouse had dumped them. it was a hard road. It wasn't easy for the other spouse, right? Um, but they managed through, I think it took them at least probably 10 years to really recover from that. But they stayed together and they worked through it. And yeah, so that is up to you, RB. If you see that they are not working on why they cheated, that broken part of them, that wounded part that caused them to go to that point, then they're going to continue to cheat. Okay. If they're not being truthful about why they did it, if they keep saying, I don't know why, I don't know why, or they give you something stupid like, well, she was just so tempting. Or if the other person wasn't, you know, coming on to me, I wouldn't have done it. That's BS, by the way. Okay. If they're giving you excuses like that, then that's not them working on why they got to the point where they became vulnerable to cheating on you. So that's up to you to decipher or discern um, about giving them another chance. Depends on where they are and what if they're being truthful about what's going on. A holographic says, I don't get this abandoning issue. I don't like you. Simple. If I can live alone, so can others. Yeah, I like how you keep things simple, holographic. Yeah, it's less simple when it's in your, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say it's less simple when it's in your own family, but you have to hear the guilt constantly. So that gets a bit um, annoying or grating. Crystal says, RB, yes, yes, they do. Every single time. Trust me. Been there, done that too many times. And I think that was about cheating on you again. Yeah, like I said, the ones who are not working on why they cheated, and they're not being truthful about it, and they keep saying, I don't know why. I don't know why I did it. Like, yeah, then they need to figure out why. They need to sit down and figure that out. C. Thomas says, yes, Crystal, even if the family knows they're wrong, they don't see the deep issues that has narcissistic tendencies. My ex, they think he's an angel. Wow. Yeah. Crystal says, my sister can't keep a job. She's an alcoholic. Needed my mom and stepfather to help her file for bankruptcy. My mom has enabled her for so long out of guilt that at 38, she is barely functioning. This is exactly what I'm saying. It is so much worse, I think. It's so much more mean for people to enable others in their dysfunction, in their sadistic behavior, in their toxic behavior than it is I think it's so much more kind and compassionate to give people boundaries, to tell them this is not acceptable. Those who will stand up to them are actually trying to help them. Those who allow them to continue to steamroll through everyone and continue to behave badly and have never reap their own consequences, always swooping in to save them, right, from themselves. I think that's awful. I think it's so mean. I understand swooping in once in a while, you know, to help somebody. I get that. Definitely be compassionate. But doing it all of their life, continually, that is just enabling. Measure Twice says, Charlotte, I am so sorry for your cat story. Animal abuse is common amongst narcissists and dysfunctional people. Yeah, it's horrible. Somehow I've fallen even farther behind with your comments, you guys. Mark Fishman, good to see you. Says, thank you so much for what you do. I have just gotten out of a very manipulative relationship. Wow, what a crazy person that I was with. Yes. Yes, it's isn't it? You know, once you come out of it and you start to learn about it, your mind just spins and how absolutely crazy it was. 2DQ says next on the list may not be a cat. Oh, 2DQ, that's awful. But yes, that's the hard part is like, what the heck? 2DQ is replying to Charlotte about what her parents have been doing. Oh, yeah, Crystal says, RB, I think that's when they're the most dangerous, when they're in the rage mode. Yeah, they are. You are absolutely right about that, because they are possessed, right? But it's not possessed. This is them. This is them at their absolute rawest. And if they're not controlling or working on or learning or um, have ever had expectations of them to stop behaving badly, their rage just gets worse and worse. Crystal says, Mark, good for you. It's a sharp learning curve, I'll tell you. LOL. See, Thomas says, yes, Crystal, seen my ex in rage mode, and not a great thing. Never thought, never thought he'd behave that way. Pure anger and mental breakdown. Yeah. Well, you guys, I am going to let you. Wow, there are a lot of. Marcel Mortimer, good to see you. Says, or if we had behaved in a better manner, maybe they would not have cheated. Blame shifting, not taking accountability. Yeah, that's what they would say, right? They're making up. They always come up with blame, a way of blaming you. They wouldn't have done all these things if you hadn't, right? Yeah. Yes, Marcel, they would say it's my fault. Yeah. Holographic says excuses and demands. That's all they got. Yeah. Yeah. Metal Gear says cheating is cheating, sexual or emotional. It's still cheating. And Metal Gear, I do agree with you with that, because that's part of why people have to fix what is so wounded in you, or what is going on in this person, right? Your ex or your current partner who is cheating. If they cannot work on that, and it is a mental thing, right? It's emotional, mental, psychological. If they don't work on that, they will continue to keep cheating, whether it's sexual or emotional, because the cheating is an actual emotional response. It's a response to an emotional wounding. And if it's not a wounding, it's an emotional breakdown in themselves, where they don't see the problem with cheating. And if that's the case, then absolutely they're going to continue to do this. Charlotte says, my younger brother was an alcoholic, and he lives at home at 26. Hides vodka and backpacks to take up to his room to drink at night. Yeah, that's where he needs support groups, and he needs to, living with his parents is not going to make it better, sadly enough. I'm so glad, Charlotte, though, that you are getting out of there, that you are figuring out your life, and that you have a chance here at a good life. So I really encourage you, and I want to support you in this move and in your new life as you figure things out about how you've been raised. There's going to be a lot of trauma that will come forward, and how you've been treated. So if you can get counseling, if you do get counseling, find somebody who has experience with narcissistic personality disorder, or was it borderline personality disorder too. Yeah. Well, you guys, it has been so good to see you. I'm gonna keep scrolling here, see if there's something that's pressing. Holographic says, I don't have guilt. They should have had guilt about being an abusive jerk parent or spouse. And that's that's her response to when a flying monkey or family member or mutual friend tries to guilt you to go back into a relationship with the narcissist, because they'll label you as someone who is abandoning, right, the narcissist. So that's the guilt trip that they're trying to put on you instead of the narcissist. And that's you know what, you bring up a really good point there, Holographic, because that's the thing with enablers. They don't look at the actual problem. They just want to fix everything around the problem to sustain the problem, right? It's to keep the problem going. Like, why don't you look at the actual problem, the person who's causing the problem, and getting them to stop causing the problem, right? Instead, they look at everybody else everybody else should be laying down their life and being, and be a doormat for this toxic person. How in the heck is that an answer, right? It just makes no sense. That's all part of their, enablers are also part of Crazytown. They really are. You cannot rationalize or reason with them. You can't get them to understand that what they're doing is very cruel and not compassionate. They don't get it. Yeah. And then they feed the problem. They make it worse, which is horrid. Oh yeah. Wow. Wow. Yeah. Crystal Jean is just talking about her ex being in a constant state of cheating, emotional affairs, stalking people. That's a lot. Well, you guys, I am glad to give you this forum to. Oh, good. I think I'm finally caught up. Oh, maybe not. Yeah, I'm glad to give you this forum to have this conversation. Oh, good. Charlotte says, thank you to Crystal. She's been giving some advice here, which is great. I actually have a reference for normal behavior now. So when I see the narcs, it's clear what they are doing now. I came to a conclusion with my counselor that it's no contact. Wow. Yep. And I would agree with that because, from what we're seeing or have been hearing from about your parents, Charlotte, it sounds so incredibly toxic. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Charlotte says for the next few months, you're going no contact for the next few months. They're already trying to trauma bond over this Christmas. It's 3 months away. Oh my gosh. Yeah, Charlotte, you may want to come up with an exit strategy. Remember what I was talking about earlier? I don't know if you were on earlier, but whenever I have, if I'm still in a relationship with a narcissist, I have to have an exit strategy. And that exit strategy, what I mean by that is you have your limitations. Like if they start doing this or saying that or start targeting me or then you have something ready to say. You have something like, hey, you guys, I don't want to talk about that. If they're targeting you, they're talking about you. If you guys keep talking about this, I'm going to leave. And you can say that. And then expect and know that they're going to guilt you. What? You're going to leave and ruin the whole, Christmas for everybody? And they're going to try to pour guilt onto you. And this is part of the exit strategy, like knowing what the attacks are going to be, being prepared for that, and then knowing that it's okay to walk out. So you're not going to be able, or they won't be able to manipulate you, right? You don't want to be manipulatable. So, yeah, have your exit strategy ready. Maybe this is a good time for you to start preparing that, Charlotte, with your counselor. Obi-Wan, good to see you. I know we're still on. Don't keep a relationship with a narc. These people are foul losers that smell horrible. Yeah. What you run with, you become. Well, you know what? That's where Obi-Wan, this is all good. And you're true. Who you surround yourself with, you become more like. So that's why we keep it very limited or not at all with a narcissist. So I'll give you 2 more minutes because we're almost at half an hour over, you guys. But I'm so glad that you were able to come on. So glad that we got to have this conversation. And if you guys want me to keep these more than an hour, maybe we'll start going to an hour and a half. And I'm thinking to do that, like maybe start trying to wrap things up at an hour, but giving you guys, a little bit more time to finish your conversations. So you guys, today, what we talked about was, what kind of relationship can we have with a narcissist? And the bottom line is it has to be extremely limited. We have to come to terms with that. We can't just wish and hope and fantasize of having a normal, beautiful, deep relationship with the narcissists in our life. You just can't, because if you do, then you're going to make yourself crazy with those expectations. Those expectations are just not realistic with a narcissist. So I hope this has helped today. I hope that you've been able to, that some of the things that we've said you can use as tools now in how to handle or behave or treat your relationship with a narcissist, right? You need to know what your limits are. You need to know what boundaries you want to set with the narcissist, and you need to accept their limitations and keep personal information very close to yourself. Don't share that even if you continue to have a relationship with narcissists in your life. And also be aware of what you're telling mutual friends or flying monkeys of the narcissist, or mutual, family members that still talk with the narcissist. So you guys, many blessings to you. And I'm so glad we had this time. And I will see you guys next week.